The sharp cry of a tired baby filled the cabin of Flight 908 the moment the plane lifted off the runway. At first, passengers tried to ignore it. People opened books, pulled down eye masks, and pushed earbuds deeper into their ears. But after nearly an hour, the crying showed no sign of stopping. It only grew louder, shakier, and more desperate. A young mother in seat 17B gently rocked her 8-month-old daughter, whispering soft words that were drowned out by the baby's sobs. Her own eyes were swollen from exhaustion. She hadn't slept the night before, and the long waiting hours at the airport had drained what little energy she had left. Her partner sat beside her, rubbing her shoulder, trying to help, but it was clear they were both reaching their breaking point. Some passengers were patient. Some were not. A man 2 rows ahead turned around for the 10th time and sighed loudly, hoping the mother would hear his frustration. A woman across the aisle put her hands over her ears and shook her head. A few people exchanged looks that said everything they didn't dare speak out loud. But the crying continued. Flight attendant Lena, a calm woman with years of experience, moved down the aisle with soft steps. She crouched beside the tired mother and offered kind words, a cup of water, and even a small toy from the airline's emergency baby kit. But the baby was too overwhelmed to respond. Nothing helped. "That's it. I can't do this for 3 more hours." A passenger muttered. "We paid good money for this seat," another whispered, even though no one said it loudly. Everyone felt the tension building, like a storm waiting for lightning. In the very back of the plane, in seat 32E, sat a 14-year-old black boy wearing a faded gray hoodie and simple blue jeans. His clothes were worn, but clean. His shoes looked like they had walked many miles. His old backpack rested under the seat in front of him, frayed at the corners, clearly used for many years. The boy had been quiet from the moment he boarded the plane. He didn't play on a tablet or scroll on a phone. He simply watched the world around him, hands folded on his lap, breathing slow and steady. He looked like someone who had learned to stay small, so no one would bother him, but something about the baby's crying tugged at him differently. Every time the wail echoed through the cabin, he flinched, not in annoyance, but in concern. His eyes softened with empathy. He leaned slightly into the aisle, watching the mother bounce her child, desperation etched on her face. The boy's fingers tapped gently against the armrest, following a pattern only he understood. It was a soft rhythm, steady, calming, like someone drumming quietly on a table without realizing it. A small tune moved across his lips, even though he wasn't humming out loud yet. It was a melody familiar to him since childhood, one that someone important in his life had taught him. A tune meant to comfort. A tune meant to calm a tired heart. After another long cry from the baby, the mother buried her face in her hands. That was the moment the boy unbuckled his seatbelt. He stood up slowly, carefully, so the flight attendants wouldn't think he was causing trouble. He took one step into the aisle, then another. His posture was gentle, respectful. He moved as if asking for permission with his body language alone. Some passengers noticed him standing and frowned, confused. Others leaned slightly to see what he was doing. One woman in the middle row narrowed her eyes and said sharply, "Sit down, kid. Let the crew handle it." But the boy didn't respond to her. He focused only on the mother and her crying daughter. Lena, the flight attendant, noticed him and walked over quickly. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly. The boy nodded once, then looked at the mother holding the baby. "Can I try something?" he asked, his voice quiet but steady. The mother looked up, eyes red and tired. At first, she didn't understand what he meant. Who was he? What could he possibly do? But there was something gentle in his expression, something honest, something kind. She blinked away her tears. "What do you mean?" The boy glanced at the crying child, then back at the mother. "I know a song," he said. "Sometimes it helps calm babies. If you're okay with it, I can try." The passengers around them stopped whispering. Heads turned. Even the annoying sighs came to a sudden halt. Everyone watched the boy, their assumptions about him floating quietly in the air. He was young. He wore simple clothes. He sat in the back row. To them, he looked like someone who should stay invisible. But now, all eyes were on him, and he didn't look nervous at all. He took a small breath. And for the first time on this flight, he began to hum, a soft, warm, gentle tune, a tune that began to melt the noise of the cabin, one note at a time. The moment the young boy began to hum, something shifted in the air, so small at first that no one noticed. His voice wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even fully formed into words. It was just a soft, warm vibration, like the gentle sound of a lullaby carried on the wind. The tune had a rhythm, slow and steady, rising and falling like waves meeting a quiet shore. It felt familiar, even to those who had never heard it before. Simple, safe, comforting. The mother stared at the boy, confused, unsure, but also strangely hopeful. Her baby's cries continued for a few seconds. Then slowly, the sound began to break. Not stop completely, but ease, like the baby was pausing to listen. The boy took another small step closer, keeping a respectful distance. He didn't reach out. He didn't touch anything. He just hummed. Gently, carefully, like he understood exactly how fragile this moment was. Passengers who had been irritated leaned forward. A man who had complained earlier lowered his hands from his ears. Even the woman who had snapped at the boy earlier went quiet, her expression shifting from annoyance to curiosity. The plane, which had felt tense and impatient only moments before, now felt strangely still, as if 200 people were holding the same breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The baby, still restless, blinked up at the sound. Her tiny fists loosened. Her cries softened from sharp wails to small, tired whimpers. The mother gasped. She's calming down." The boy kept humming, his eyes focused gently on the child. His fingers moved slowly against his jeans, tapping a rhythm that matched the melody. It was clear the song wasn't random. It meant something to him. After almost a full minute, the baby's cries quieted to soft hiccups. Her chest lifted and fell gently. Her face relaxed. Then, in the most surprising moment of all, her eyes slowly closed. A complete hush fell over the cabin. People looked at one another, whispering, shocked, impressed. The mother covered her mouth with her hand, tears filling her eyes again, but this time from relief, not exhaustion. "How did you?" she whispered. The boy stopped humming only after he was sure the baby was asleep. He let the last note fade softly into the cabin's quiet hum. Then he shrugged, as if he hadn't done anything special. "It's a song my grandmother used to hum," he said gently. "She said it helps babies feel safe." The mother held her sleeping child close, rocking her slowly. Her partner placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, gratitude shining in his tired eyes. "Thank you," he said in a voice thick with emotion. "We didn't know what else to do." The boy nodded and offered a small, shy smile. "I'm glad it helped," he murmured. Flight attendant Lena stood nearby, stunned. She had seen many things in her years of flying: arguments, emergencies, unexpected kindness, but never something quite like this. She placed a hand on her chest, her eyes soft with admiration. "That was one of the kindest moments I've ever witnessed," she said. The boy lowered his gaze, unused to praise. "It's nothing. Just a song," but everyone around him knew it wasn't nothing. What he had done took courage, compassion, a heart that could still feel for others. Even when others didn't always see him clearly or kindly, passengers who had been annoyed now felt embarrassed by their earlier complaints. Some turned away, pretending they hadn't been judging. Others looked at the boy with new respect. A man in the next row leaned over and whispered to his friend, "You never know who someone really is." A woman, who had rolled her eyes earlier, now looked at the boy like he was a miracle she didn't expect to see at 30,000 feet. The mother carefully shifted her baby into a more comfortable position and looked at the boy again. "Please, sit with us for a moment," she said softly. "Just until she's fully asleep. If that's okay with you." The boy hesitated. He glanced back at his seat in the last row, far away, cramped, lonely. Then he nodded. "Okay." He stepped closer and sat quietly in the aisle seat beside the mother's row. He didn't hum anymore. He just stayed near in case the baby stirred. For the next few minutes, the cabin remained unusually peaceful. The engine's steady drone and the soft breaths of sleeping passengers filled the air. Some people folded their blankets. Others returned to their books. A few glanced back at the boy from time to time, as if reminding themselves that he was real and not just a moment of kindness imagined. Then, as the plane moved smoothly through the clouds, Lena approached the boy again. "Would you like something to drink?" she asked. He shook his head politely. "I'm all right." But she placed a small cup of warm tea in his hands anyway. "For someone with a heart like yours," she said, "a little comfort is deserved." The boy whispered, "Thank you," as if the kindness surprised him. The mother looked at him again, noticing how he cradled the warm cup gently, as if he wasn't used to people offering him things. "What's your name?" she asked softly. He looked up in what he shared and what the passengers would learn about him in the final part would reveal why that simple humming meant more than anyone realized. The mother waited as the boy lifted his eyes. He hesitated not out of fear, but out of habit. His life had taught him to measure people first before trusting them with anything personal. "My name is Aaron," he said softly. The mother smiled warmly. "Thank you again, Aaron. I don't know how we would have made it through this flight without you." Aaron gave a small nod and looked down at his hands wrapped around the warm cup of tea. His fingers were steady now, no longer tapping nervous rhythms. The baby slept peacefully against her mother's chest, her tiny breath soft and even. It felt like the whole plane had exhaled with her. For the first time since takeoff, the cabin felt normal. People relaxed into their seats. A few whispered conversations floated through the air, now filled with curiosity instead of annoyance. Near the front, an older man who had been complaining earlier stood up and walked down the aisle. He paused beside Aaron and cleared his throat. "Son," he said awkwardly, "I shouldn't have been so impatient before. You did something pretty amazing." Aaron looked surprised and shook his head quickly. "I just hummed a song." "No," the man said gently. "You gave kindness when no one else did." Then he returned to his seat quietly. Aaron didn't know what to say. Compliments weren't something he received often. Most people saw the worn hoodie, the old shoes, the frayed backpack first. They assumed things about him before he even spoke, but today felt different. The plane continued its smooth journey through the sky, the sunlight glowing gently through the windows. The peacefulness felt almost unreal, especially compared to the stressful chaos from earlier. The mother finally spoke again, her voice soft but sincere. "Is that song special to you?" Aaron nodded slowly. "It's the song my grandmother used to hum to me," he said. "She raised me when I was little. Whenever I had nightmares or got sick, she'd sing it. She said it could calm even the tired parts of the heart." The mother exchanged a glance with her partner, both touched by the simplicity of his words. "Where is your grandmother now?" The partner asked gently. Aaron held the warm cup a little tighter. "She passed away last year." A quiet sympathy filled the small space around them. Not pity, just understanding. A kind of softness that comes when one heart recognizes the weight another heart carries. The mother reached out with a gentle hand. "She'd be proud of you," she said. Aaron offered a small smile, one that seemed to carry both gratitude and a hint of sadness. "I hope so," he whispered. Lena, the flight attendant, approached again, carrying a small envelope. "Aaron," she said kindly, "the crew wanted you to have this." Confused, he took the envelope and opened it. Inside was a handwritten note signed by all the flight attendants. It read, "Thank you for bringing peace to our cabin. Your kindness mattered today." Underneath the note was a small travel snack box, something simple, but offered with genuine care. Aaron blinked in surprise. No one had ever given him something like this before, not as a reward, not as a gesture of gratitude. He nodded shyly, "Thank you." "Really," Lena smiled. "You didn't just quiet a baby, Aaron. You changed the mood of the whole flight." A passenger across the aisle nodded. "She's right. You reminded us that kindness still exists." Aaron looked down, humbled. "I didn't do anything big." But everyone around him knew better. Sometimes the smallest actions, like a humming tune, carry the heaviest meaning. Minutes later, the plane began preparing for landing. The overhead lights brightened softly. Passengers adjusted their seats. The baby stirred a little but didn't cry, resting her cheek against her mother's shoulder dot as the plane descended through the clouds. The mother looked at Aaron once more. "Do you travel alone often?" Aaron nodded. "Mostly. My aunt works in another city. I go there on school breaks." The mother hesitated, then said, "If you ever need anything, guidance, help, someone to talk to, I want you to know you're not alone." Aaron's eyes widened slightly. The sincerity of her offer clearly touched him. "Thank you," he said quietly. "That means more than you know." The wheels touched down smoothly on the runway. Passengers clapped softly, relieved the long journey had ended. As people stood up to gather their bags, several stopped to thank Aaron personally. Some offered warm smiles. Others simply nodded in respect. When it was finally time to exit, Aaron waited until the aisle cleared. The mother, holding her now sleeping baby, paused before walking away. "You changed our day," she said. "You changed this whole flight." Aaron looked at her baby, peaceful, calm, safe. He smiled gently. "I'm glad she could rest," he said. "That's all I wanted." As he stepped off the plane into the busy airport, the noise of the world returned, footsteps, announcements, rushing people. But something inside him felt different. For the first time in a long time, he felt seen. Not for the clothes he wore, not for the neighborhood he came from, not for the assumptions people usually made, but for the heart he carried, a heart that hummed a simple tune and healed strangers at 35,000 feet.